What is up, guys? It is 7 weeks out now, roughly, and today we're doing a quad workout.
This is the high quality content that people want to see,
We usually split up our hamstrings and our quad training. Today's a Friday. It's naturally the day of the week where we do quads. We'll take you through the workout, kind of the reason behind the exercise selection, why I do what I do, some of the awesome equipment we get to use here at Raw, and some intensification techniques that we're going to be running. At 7 weeks out, it's kind of sad because you only have 7 more quad workouts. So I almost view that as you got 7 chances to get better before the show date. So what I like to do is I like to come into the gym. I like to stretch out my hips really good, my hamstrings, my calves. And the first movement I always do is a calf raise. I like this one. It's called a Cybex seated donkey calf raise. And we'll come in here and we'll just keep adding weight to it, 3 or 4 plates aside, and just do 10 reps or so, but really stretching the ankles out to get the mobility in my ankle. I have an old football injury. I have 2 old football injuries. I have a surgically repaired knee, and I have a detached ligament in my ankle that was never fully healed. So when I'm squatting and trying to get deep into quad movements, my ankle usually holds me back. So by forcing it to stretch first, it primes me up a lot better to do those squatting patterns later on in the workout. And the other thing is, if you're ever experiencing knee pain or ankle pain or anything like that, you can usually trace it back to either tight ankles, calves, or tight hips. So if you stretch your hips out really good and stretch your calves out really good, you'll set yourself up for success with your squatting patterns or your quad movements, your leg press, whatever you're doing. So we'll start with calves. We'll go to adductors to get the hips good. And then we're going to move on to leg pressing, hack squatting, single leg pressing, and then quad extensions at the end. And that's it. So I get questions all the time about how to grow your calves because I think my calves have always been like 19 or 20 inches my whole life. I'm genetically blessed with good calves. Thanks, Dad. But I do see a lot of questionable calf training out there. You don't want to turn it into an Achilles movement where you're bouncing it on your ligament and your tendon. You want to contract it up, but don't just come here and do this. This isn't doing anything for you. You walk around like that all day, bouncing on your feet, basically. What you want to do is get the most important part of the movement, which is the stretch under the load. That's the most important part. It's the same thing with the quad. So make sure you're going all the way down and feeling that stretch. It should really burn. And it's actually less important to get it all the way up, honestly, I think. So that would be my recommendation. Train them hard and train them heavy like you train everything else. And that's how they'll grow.
So I preach to everybody, 300 mgs of caffeine a day is fine. Caffeine is a performance enhancer. It has good benefits. It's when you abuse it is then when it becomes a problem.
Yeah.
I don't think you need to cycle caffeine if you limit yourself to 300 mgs a day.
Yeah.
I really don't. And I'm never that high.
Yeah.
I drink 1 cup of coffee with breakfast. At most, I drink 2.
Yeah.
And that's just because I like coffee.
Yeah.
And they're usually, the second one is always a smaller cup.
Yep.
Maybe 6 ounces, just because I want just a little bit more, right?
Yep.
So what's a 12-ounce coffee? 100 to 150 mgs,
Roughly.
maybe,
Yeah, maybe
on the high side.
Yeah, 90 on the low side.
I'd say probably closer to 100. And I took a half a scoop of pre,
yeah.
of the essential pre, which is the low stim one.
Which is that's only 100 megs then.
I was just looking for a little boost,
I did Angel Dust today, which is 400. So
Wow, Angel Dust, man, that's an illegal drug.
things might get a little wild.
That's bad for you. Isn't that crack crushed up and snorted? Isn't that what angel dust is?
I'm not an expert. I don't know anything about that.
I feel like in an alternate life you were Walter White.
Trick that Eddie Shepard reminded me of. So if you're ever struggling with adductors and trying to go a little heavier and you feel like you're getting pulled out of the seat, try actually pulling yourself down into the seat. You'll just feel a lot stronger.
This is also when Rick Rock was still fat.
Yeah.
Dude, he lost like 100 and some pounds.
Ozempic.
Was that what it was?
I don't know, maybe.
I think it was.
I'm just speculating.
He was laying off them lemon pepper wings.
Yeah.
You know he was the one who made those famous?
Yeah.
You gotta grab your boys and move them out of the way because you're gonna squish them. So for the most part, you'll kind of see me doing them like this, so I don't get to hold on, which sucks, but I squish my balls, so.
I don't have that problem.
This is the high quality content that the people want to see, bro.
Tricks of the trade.
Yeah, dude. Pro tip. Yeah, pro tip. Okay. Oh, it burns. Wow. This is how I know Justin's starting to get lean. I look at his legs right here and the back of his legs. When he's training and the side leg is starting to get real crazy and the back of the leg starts to get real crazy, it's like sandpaper covered in veins. That's when I know his body fat levels are low. Nice.
Okay.
Are you having him work on your sweep and your IT bends?
He hasn't been doing my quads at all lately.
Okay, I would have him start
I'll
doing
switch
it.
back into it. Yeah.
I would just make sure that it's a weekly thing now,
Yeah.
all the way in. See if you can't get some of the lines
Come in. Yeah.
push
Yeah.
them
That'd probably
deeper.
help. I'll have him hit my quads first this time.
Okay.
Because I've been doing my shoulders so much and my pecs because of the impingements, but that's pretty much healed now. So.
Yeah, right.
All right, so now that we're properly warmed up, we did our calves, we did adductors, we're gonna come over here to the Atlantis leg press, which I think is probably the best leg press I've ever used. It's very smooth, very adjustable, feel very strong in it. We're gonna come over here and do, I usually wanna do 3 sets of 10. That's usually what I have in my mind at this stage. When it comes to top set training on a leg press, I'd have to load so many plates on here and kill myself at this point in prep to do 15 to 20 reps. I'd probably have to have 26, 27, 28 plates on here, like an absurd number. So I actually want to do a little more volume, but I still want it to be hard and heavy. So this is another trick I got from John Meadows. I've adopted a lot of his training philosophies into my training methods. You come over to a leg press, you throw on like 4 plates aside, you do 10 reps with like a standard stance where you're thinking whole leg, not just pure quad, but you know, your whole leg, whatever yours your most powerful position, and do 10 reps, and then add weight, usually a plate or 2 plates, 10 reps. Keep doing that and going up until you basically miss 10 reps, or 10 reps is about where you're gonna fail, and that's when your working sets start. So we'll probably climb all the way up to 10 plates aside, 20 plates total, and do 3 sets of 10 there. And that's like the bulk of our work today. And then after this, we're gonna go to the hack squat, and we'll probably do a top set and a back off set there. So that's a way that you can kind of tweak your volume when you're in like a contest prep phase to still train hard and heavy, but not go to crazy poundages for top set training. When I'm done choking on my mucus. Yeah, no. All right, so a few pointers here on the leg press. I like to think about taking my knees down to my armpits as far as depth goes. And the other thing you'll notice, I try to make all my reps look the same, and I come up, and as soon as I get all the way up, I come right back down. I keep the tension on my quads. Up, down. Through the whole set. I try to do that. I don't come up and stop and take a breather and let my legs set. I try to keep the set as hard as I can. And continuous. I want to maintain the mechanical tension throughout the whole set rather than extending the set unnecessarily at this point. So I could work up to a point where I get to that 10th rep and take 10 seconds and do another rep or two, or I can keep fighting and make my sets leading up harder. It's just another way to make your sets tougher so that I don't have to add more weight right now and risk injury. So that's a great way to progress without purely locking yourself into doing more reps or more weights. Sometimes just keeping everything continuous, that's another way that you can progress over time. I still want 10 reps, even though I'm feeding up.
Come on.
Good. Yeah. Oh, saving it. Up. One. Up. Ooh, okay. All right, that's our first working set there. Up. Yes, roll it. Find your groove. Come on. Find your groove. Good. Yeah. Come on. Good. Out. Yep. Come on. 5. Dig it. Come on. Out. Come on. 1, 2, 1, 2. Here we go. Up. You. Come on. Dig. Out. Good. There's 2 more. 2 more. Come on. Out. Good. 1. Load. Press. Good. Yep, yep.
Here we go.
Woo.
Under control, under control, under control. Nice. Nice. Come on, come on. Finish. Well, yeah, you're like trying to be careful, but then you're like not getting anything. Yeah, that's right, Daddy. Choke me.
Loved and supported by hands on the traps. There you go. Good. All right. Good. 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 Good.
Okay. That was a much better set. Okay.
We're moving on to our squatting pattern, which today is going to be the prime hack squat, which is a great hack squat. There are not very many of these in the world, so we're blessed to be able to use one here. We do reverse band this with about a 30-pound band. Nothing crazy here. I did get a specific question in the Q&A about how to band the prime hack squat. So if you look, there's these rungs for running a band. You start up top, and then this piece down here is adjustable. So what you do is you run it over top, and then you pull it down here, and this gives you less tension. If you want more tension, you would crank it here. So as the machine descends, you have more tension pulling you out of the hole. If you put it a little lower, it's a little less tension. We usually pick kind of a halfway point. We're really just trying to take off 30 to 45 pounds, which is about a plate at the bottom. And the reason we do this is for saving our knees, really. At this stage of prep and this stage in our career, the amount of weight that we use. I have no meniscus in my right knee. I have an ACL that was reconstructed, so there's not a lot of cartilage there. The way the knee is anatomically, you want to have a loaded stretch at the bottom, but that's also when your knee is at the most shearing. And the band takes a little bit of that tension off, and then it brings it back when you come up and flex. It's the opposite when you're bench pressing. You want as much tension as you can at the bottom of the press, and it's helpful to have it come up because it's usually harder to get it all the way short. It's the opposite for quads. This is what we like to do. Some people bitch about banding hack squats. When I started doing this, my quads started growing. The other thing I like about it is the band really makes you control your descents and your ascents. I feel like it forces me into a very smooth pattern, whereas if I didn't have it, sometimes the weight just takes you down too fast. So the band, to me, helps me have a better movement, and it just feels better. So if you never tried it, give it a try. Don't use the band as an excuse to just lift tons of weight and lift heavy. That's not the purpose. It's a fine line between ego lifting and trying to be technical and smart. We're gonna do a top set, work our way up. We're just gonna feed. So like 2-3 reps going up, adding weights. When we get to our working set, we're gonna send it as hard as we can, and then maybe we'll do it again, or maybe we'll back off and do another set. So let's go. So another question I got is foot placement for targeting quads. Pretty simple, guys. The farther down on platforms you can get, the more knee flexion you could get. That means knees coming out over your toes. So if you have bad mobility, you might have to start more neutral, higher up on platforms, whether it's a leg press or a hack squat. But as you get going, try to force your feet farther down to where you can come down without letting your heels come up off the platform. That's the reason why we did those calves at the beginning, because I feel like once your calves are nice and stretched out, you're able to get into these good knee flexion patterns without the ankle mobility issue of your calf and your ankle pulling you up off the platform. So that's the tip for hitting the quads. Oh, the band popped off. That's why.
Oh, it did?
Yeah.
Differential is not better, and it's a win. It's frustrating when you give somebody good sportsmanship and they don't give it back to you. Like I don't like that. That really bothers me. Nice. Two more. One more. That's strong. Nice.
Looks like it. Here we go. Ooh, yep.
Yeah.
At least 8. Out. Good. Good. Come on. Yep. Come on. Yes. Yes.
Shh.
Good. You. Come on. Out. More. 2. Up. 1. Come on. Make it count. Yes.
Okay.
Good set, dude.
Oh. Come on.
Fight that shit, bro.
Go.
There it is.
Woo.
Anabolic set.
Yeah, buddy. Yeah, we rolling.
Come on.
We rolling. Come on. Come on. Big quads.
Oh.
Come on.
Come on.
Up.
Oh.
Yeah, ready? 3, 2.
Up. Oh. Is it this? Fuck.
All right, so we finished our couple sets at the hack squat, and that was pretty tough. Quads are pretty tired from that. We're gonna move on to a unilateral movement now. So we have an Atlantis single leg press here, and it's plate loaded. It's very adjustable. We like it because you can get into it, embrace yourself, embrace your other foot. And the thinking process here is foot low on the platform, load the outer side of your foot near your pinky toe, and load the weight on the outside of your quad here. You want to feel it stretch into here, and then you want to press it there all the way out. We're going to go up in weight here until we get to a hard working weight of about 10 reps, and then we're going to switch legs and do a couple sets here and just finish the quads off, and then we'll move on to leg extensions as our finisher.
Right there. Your chest. Go. Yep, good. Go. 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 Come on. Not helping you. Go. Oh, this is yours. Push yourself. Push yourself in. Like push into it. Come on. Come on. Not helping you. Go. Nice. That's easy. Go. One more. Come on. Let's go.
Come on.
Like 10 minutes in.
Okay.
All right, we're gonna finish off with leg extensions. We're actually gonna do a cluster set here. So we're gonna work up to a bit of a heavy weight. The way I like to do these, if you have a seatbelt, you can buckle in. Not all machines have this, but you could actually buy a seatbelt from Gym Pin, I believe. And the great thing about that is it holds your hips down, because as the weight gets heavier, sometimes it wants to lift you out. This will hold you in so you can get a good contraction. The other thing is, if you can put the seat a little farther back, studies show that you actually get a little more rectus femoris by leaning more back rather than being up here, which doesn't engage as much. And you get just as much engagement with everything else in your quadricep. So if you can go a little farther back, it's a little better. And so for a cluster set, I'm gonna do 5 hard squeeze reps, hold it for a second, and come down. And I'm gonna catch my breath. I'm gonna do 5 again, catch my breath, 5 again, catch my breath. I'm gonna shoot for like 20 or 25, and it should get pretty hard at the end. And probably finish at 25 reps. Ooh. Ooh. Oh. Yep. Ooh. 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 Yep. Ah.
Come on.
Ooh. Ooh. Yep. 1. 2. 3. One more round. Ah. 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 Ooh.
Let's go.
Yep. Ah. 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 Okay. Oh. Oh. That's an intensifier.
I fucked up because I did fucking 10 reps the first round.
All right, we got 15.
Ah. Ah.
Good.
Oh. Fuck me, dude. Ah. Ah.
Yes. 3, 2, 1.
Ah.
1.
Ah.
Good.
Ah.
There we go.
Oh man.
Okay. That's all she wrote. All right, that wraps up today's quad session. That was a really good one. That was probably one of our best quad sessions in recent memory.
Yeah.
Our joints didn't really hurt that much, and strength levels were pretty high, energy levels pretty high for being 7 weeks out. Very happy. Saw things happening with my legs, meaning showing good conditioning, and strength is still there, size is holding. We're getting a little flatter, but that's what we want in a diet phase, trying to lose fat. Can't complain, really happy with how that went. So thanks for sending in your questions. We got a few of them. We covered them during the workout. We covered how to band a hack squat. We covered foot placement for maximum quad emphasis and knee flexion. And we got a couple other questions that we'll answer. The first one will be, how do you approach coaching a lifestyle client versus a regional competitor? And I'll let Jacoby answer that because he's coach, and this is questions with coach.
So for lifestyle clientele, you have to realize and accommodate for their lifestyle. So whether they're a mom, a dad, if they're a CEO that works very long hours or runs a business, or if they're a small business owner, you have to factor in the external that they're living with, right? So, sometimes fasted cardio might not be possible for them because as soon as they wake up, they have to start getting the kids ready for school, pack lunches, whatever the case may be. Sometimes working out 5 days a week is just not conducive for their schedule. At the end of the day, we all only still have 24 hours in a day. But you can find areas and windows in your day where you can prioritize physical activity. At the end of the day, it does still come down to priority. So even for somebody who is a lifestyle clientele, getting their lifestyle changed still needs to be one of their top priorities. Now, the difference between that person who might just want to lose, 10 pounds by the summer and look a little bit better for, the beach season and just feel good and confident about themselves, and a competitor who is actually going to get on stage, whether it's a regional competitor, a national level competitor, or a pro. If you're going to do a physique-based sport and get on stage in front of a judging panel and compete against other people, it truly becomes arguably the most important thing in your everyday life. And that's one of the biggest differences, is the level of prioritization. The dieting protocols are going to be very similar, right? Because the the science behind lipolysis, which is the burning of fat, is very similar, right? So we need to be in a caloric deficit. For a competitor, fasted cardio is going to be very important, as it's just significantly superior to fed cardio. Their training performance in the gym is going to be extremely important. Not that it's not important for a lifestyle client, but for an athlete, somebody who's competing, and we're treating this like a sport, performance in the gym is not only how we build muscle, but also how we retain muscle when we're in a caloric deficit. Obviously, a very big difference too is if one is going to stay natural or if one's going to use PEDs. So you obviously need to factor all of those external things in the mix. And then the blood work is going to be very different. From a lifestyle standpoint, the blood work that we're going to review is going to be a little bit more elementary, right? It's going to be more of your basic CBCs. We'll see and make sure that they have basic good thyroid function, but for the most part, we're not trying to uncover and fix a lot of underlying issues, right? That would be more or less what their physician or their doctor might be for. Now, if you're really smart with functional health and functional medicine from a coaching perspective, you can likely get a lot of those processes online for a lifestyle person. But for a competitor, you're going to need to be much more robust in your approach with your blood work review, with your supplementation to stay healthy. So it's just a bit more extreme. So that's kind of the biggest difference, is if I had to kind of pinpoint it down and simplify, is spectrum of how extreme you're going to get with your fitness, right? So even your basic lifestyle person, they're not going to be as extreme as your competitor who's going to get on stage, like someone like Justin or myself, or even anyone watching here that might be getting ready for their very first bodybuilding show. The extremes are way out here, and the lifestyle people are going to be a lot more in the middle. And then on the far left, which is another extreme, that would be your people who are sedentary and are inactive and don't have any type of prioritization for their physical fitness.
The one other thing I would add to that, as far as competitors and lifestyle, is a competitor really needs to optimize everything, and whereas a lifestyle client can be a lot more flexible. And you really want to set them up for what they can do consistently. And thinking about it just in pure terms of food, for instance, it's not optimal for me to eat roast beef sandwich. But if the guy working the construction job measures his roast beef and his light mayo and his lettuce, and he likes to eat that, and he eats it every day, and he's able to achieve his goals doing that, by all means. So lifestyle gives you opportunity to be more flexible in what you're doing. You just still have to be disciplined about how you go about it. And that's one of the key differences as far as meals go. And then it's kind of the same thing with cardio. What are you going to do consistently? Do you like walking? Do you like biking? Do you like doing it fasted? Whatever you're going to do and keep doing. It's the clients that do it week after week, month after month, and enjoy it that have the most success.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Okay, last question here. What do you do to pay attention to in order to determine if it's time to add volume to a training day? That's an interesting question, and
Adding volume.
adding volume. It's funny because when I grew up into bodybuilding, it was all about volume. I watched Ronnie Coleman and Jay Cutler do a lot of volume training growing up, and kind of like in the past 5 years, it was a lot more high intensity training kind of came around with a lot of top set stuff, or chasing the logbook or the DC style training. I found that once you reach a new level of strength on a movement, let's say I finally have bench pressed 350 pounds on the incline bench press, and I've done it for 2 or 3 reps, and I've set that new threshold. I don't want to go into the gym every week now and just try to beat it by a rep. I actually want to back down off that a little to like 315, and I like to see what I can do for volume in that weight range for like 3 sets of 10. And once I master that, like at 3 sets of 10, and I'm able to go above that, then I try to like set a new plateau. We kind of did it today actually. So if you think about the leg press that we did, we had in our mind to do 3 sets. We only did 2, but it's kind of like fatigue started setting in. I'm in prep too. So, but had we just kept going up in weight for a pure top set, we might not have gotten as many quality reps. We might have had to push the weights really, really high, and then you're opening yourselves up to an injury touching weights that you probably haven't touched before. So it's kind of like riding that line between like, okay, I've reached a pretty good strength pinnacle here. Let's come down and maybe lower the weight a tad and do an extra set for a little more volume, and like master that and marinate in it and get comfortable with it. And then go up again when you're comfortable, when you feel safe to do so. I wouldn't do that across all your movements or your isolation movements. I would pick your battles, especially with like heavier compounds, leg press movements, hack squats, pressing, things like that. Adding junk volume for the sake of adding junk volume, I would not do. Would you add anything to that?
Like maybe when would it be time to reduce volume, which I think might even be a little bit of a better question, would be like this instance that we're talking about.
Fatigue.
So when you're in a contest prep and you're managing fatigue, so obviously you want to keep volume as steady as you can for as long as you can recover. So like we have our go-tos, right? So we have a model and a mold that really stays the same pretty much year round. Now, when we're in an off-season setting, yes, of course, we have more energy. We can play around in the gym per se a little bit more. Hey, I feel good today. You feel good today? You want to do another set? Okay, let's do another set. You know, that's a game time type decision. Go by feel. You know, that's where being intuitive and having that experience as a trainer really comes into play. Same thing on the fatigue management side of things. When we're in a deficit and our primary function is to maintain performance in the gym, but also prioritize the physique and just making sure we're getting leaner on a weekly basis. The last thing that I want to do is have us be trying to keep volume at an unreasonable amount that we are no longer recovering from. And then at some point, we could even be potentially taking tissue off of our body because we're doing too much. We're breaking down more tissue than what we're able to recover from. So there's something referred to as your maximum recoverable volume. And when you're in a deficit, sleep is a little bit impaired, you're at a much lower weight, you only have a certain maximum recoverable volume. The key is to not exceed that, but stay right around that threshold. So it's a little intuitive, but through experience and also listening to your body and listening to the feedback, the biggest thing that I notice when it's time for us to pull volume back would be if Justin's performance started to really take dips. So if on a weekly basis, he's just getting weaker and weaker, it's like, okay, we got to pull volume back. Maybe we need to rearrange our exercise selection. Maybe we need to change out a couple of movements. But the biggest thing is to get in, stimulate hard with 1 to 2 really hard sets per exercise and move on to the next movement.
Yep. Well, that wraps up the questions. That wraps up the quad day. Next, we'll probably either do our hamstring and glute day. We might do a chest and shoulder day again, or we might show you our shoulder arm day. It just kind of depends on the schedule. So with that said, peace out. Bye.